We're here for you. imagineAI.live is serving it up, and we will help people find their way. That's our mission. Find your way with AI and meet other people that are doing the same.
Welcome to the Imagine AI Live podcast. I'm your host, Chris Madden, and today we have with us truly a special guest, the one and only Steve Metcalf, my co-founder and the visionary behind the conference, the one that had the idea, is the leading force here. So happy to have him on the podcast. Steve, how are you doing?
Wow, I'm doing great. I had to stay up all night so I could catch you in your waking hours here. I'm excited we get to cut a podcast. Last year, we didn't cut a podcast together until during the event, our first Imagine AI Live event last March, and that was a lot of fun. You know, we had this idea we should talk about what's coming because we're about 3 months away from Imagine AI Live 25, which is happening right after Memorial Day weekend in the United States. It's May 28th to 30th, and is now kind of extended to a almost 3-day event, and I can explain more about what's
I'm
going
super excited to get into that. So, Steve, what is Imagine AI Live to you?
Oh, it's a lot of things. It's one part, maybe a kind of a journey for me and others that, I've come to know, to discover ways to apply AI faster. You obviously have the people that are like hard at work 24/7 in the labs, building these language models that we're all using, testing them, red teaming them, doing all those things to get them ready for use, launching them. Then you've got people building companies that are AI first companies that are taking advantage of these tools, serving them up in ways that people that are busy with businesses and their lives can kind of really lean into them. What I felt was sort of missing 2 years ago when, a little more than 2 years ago, when a lot of us sort of discovered ChatGPT, was a route to find and lean into AI faster. Find your way with AI, whether you're in business, a business leader. Doesn't matter if you're CEO of a Fortune 500 or you're the leader of a regional construction firm, a manufacturing company, or you're a service business, a bank, university. How do you find other people that are trying to lean into AI, discover it faster, discover ways to apply it without necessarily waiting for, and this is no disrespect to the big tech guys, but waiting for Microsoft to show you what to do or tell us what to do. So and it's sort of beyond the headlines of AI. How are companies using it? How are people using it? How are creatives using it? Creators that are doing content creation, how are they using it? How are businesses using it? How are they staying out of trouble? Like, what are they learning from each other? What are they learning about the crafting of prompts, that are so important to how these things work? The automations that help string them together, the new sort of agentic orchestrations that you can put together, the vibe coding of apps that you can build. So it's like some of this stuff really just emerged in the last 12 months or less. But one way I think about Imagine AI.live, to me, what it means is it's a community of AI-minded people that want to get together to learn from each other, spend a few quality days kind of out of the office, get to a place where you can hang out and the conversation continues. It's kind of like if there was the world's largest AI users group, what would it feel like? What would it look like? And I think we're sort of in that sort of realm, as sort of, these are the AI users. These are people that are really leaning in, cross-function. So we don't care if it's sales and marketing or if you're generating art and video. There's so many ways to apply AI across a business, on data, on structured data, unstructured data, write applications. Like, it really is sort of this bringing it all together. And sometimes I use the term, it means to me like taking the CEO's view of the landscape. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the CEO of a mega enterprise. Everyone in some respects is a CEO. Everyone essentially is a creator, is running their own show. And it's sort in the new world of AI, I think we're all going to be viewing the world like, okay, we have to think of everything. What does the whole flow look like? So that's what it means to me. But honestly, it is the people we've met at Imagine AI.live and that have helped us produce these shows and that pull it off, whether they're speaking, whether they're volunteering, whether they're sponsoring us, whether they're getting on stage, whether they're running workshops, like producing music for us. Like it is unbelievable. It is like the coolest group of people that I've found in a long time, and everybody has a lot of fun.
I couldn't agree more. The group of people we've pulled together already is really impressive. And to give like a history of a little bit about the conference so far. So it hasn't even been a year since our first big one in Las Vegas, which was at the end of March last year in 2024. And then we had a day impact event in New York at Cornell Tech. And it was a full day show with speakers and workshops. And then this time it's going to be in Las Vegas at the same place as the original conference, the Fountainebleau, over 3 days, May 28th to the 30th. And so last year's big event was about 600 people in attendance. We had 30 some speakers hit the stage. It was very well received. Now we're going bigger and better, and we have more experience doing this, and we've built out our processes more. So I'd like to kind of get into that. And maybe, Steve, you could pull up the website and kind of start there. Show us what you've built.
Well, first of all, there's a story behind the website. So what did we learn by doing this event a year ago? 1 year ago, really, we had this intention, this desire. We, I'll use the term, imagined what it would be like to bring people live and in person to Las Vegas across every function, every industry. And, whether you're people that were educators of AI, they were influencers, these are the people I call on the frontier. They're out there tasting the new language model drops, and people like Linus Ekenstam are like already ripping it apart, or Alex Northstar, and they're reporting on it. And there's so many of these folks that I found just fascinating to kind of, they're reporting from the front line, so to speak. What if you brought that group together, and then you brought companies that are building, on AI platforms? So you're, companies like Abacus AI, Ignite Tech, these are companies that are like literally like either spawning into existence because of AI, with sort of AI first sort of mindset. Neural Frames, another example, sort of the art, music, video side, or they were literally reversing. They were putting the brakes on what they were doing and completely pivoting into AI. So bringing these folks up, getting them on stage. And of course, we brought a lot of people that are heavy into applied AI. We had Antonis Kokilas, the global CEO of Ogilvy Advertising last year, one of our keynotes, and how they're already leaning into it for mega brands and clients. John Rossman, who took the stage, a former Amazon executive, that's written many books on the Amazon way and talking about how do you place big bets with AI. So we just kind of mixed up with this really incredible group. We brought folks like Young Spielberg, a Grammy Award-winning musician that you and I know fairly well, from another network that we're part of, talking about how music is how AI is changing the music industry. We had folks on that were experts at content creation, with Igor Pagani and Ola Lehman and other guys that had gone out and really were trying to show the world what could happen. So that was the first learning, was that would be really interesting to feature these folks live and in person, and then invite people that want to be AI first and sort of want this sort of AI first mindset to join together with us and learn together and take a few days out of a busy schedule wherever we all have our day jobs, we all have our and coming together. So that was what we learned. But the philosophy that we brought was let's also learn, as we're building an organization behind Imagine AI Live, let's be an AI first conference. And so one of the things that we did, and you see the website up here, it's nicely flashing some messaging across. Our new website was entirely top to bottom designed by AI. We used a tool called V0, which a lot of people are discovering. There's this whole thing that we're going to be talking about this year at this upcoming event called vibe coding, or sort of, literally you're using AI agents to design things, code things, build apps for you. So we thought, well, let's do it ourselves and let's see what we can learn. And what you're seeing in front of us is something we built. And when I say we, I mean me and the AI, right?
Yeah.
Putting feedback from people like you. But essentially, it's a full stack. This is what all the cool kids use to build websites. React, it's Next.js. It's got a Sanity CMS backend, which means that basically everybody needs a CMS at some point to run your website. But essentially, we can API anything, any content we create can literally at a push of a button be spun into the websites. A lot of the
what does CMS mean?
A CMS is a content management system. So Squarespace is a good example of WordPress. Squarespace are good examples of classic content management systems or CMSs. And that way you don't have to hard code everything that goes into a website. Framer is another big one that's popular now with a lot of people. Webflow is another one. But what I wanted to do was prove that you could literally design your front end, design your visual look with an AI design agent. That was V0 from Vercel, great company. And then literally go to build it or code it. We use Cursor for this. So Cursor kind of can literally take that front end and start plowing out the back end. And Sanity is like a database. Sanity is the CMS behind it, which is a very flexible data lake for building websites. It's not the only game in town, but it's one that met a lot of our requirements, very easy to set up. And of course, the AI understood it extremely well. So that's what goes into this. We sort of went, well, okay, as an event organizer, let's go beyond just having a nice website. Let's build everything here, all of our forms, all of our, everything can be also designed and built by the AI. So every time you submit for registration pass, it's basically going through our system that we built, and it's not calling out. We didn't go hire a SaaS company. There's plenty of good ones out there, but we built our own registration and ticketing system, and we built it the way we wanted to build it because it really just gives us a huge amount of control over the kind of information we're trying to gather from people as they register. One of which is sort of the whole goals of attending, the interest or workshop tracks we can recommend for people. So everything we're building is done with AI, and very, very excited about this.
Let's go to the speakers now. And if you could talk to, that's kind of everyone's first question when they like, okay, conference, fun conference, but who's going to be there? Who's going to be speaking? If you could go through these, this great lineup we have.
Yeah. So this is sort of an early lineup. We're 3 months out. We're actually, pretty much every day we're recruiting. We're talking to speaking candidates. This is one of the best parts of the job is these are folks that we want to hear from, and then getting them and then having them kind of agree to come out. Some are going to be leading workshops. Some are going to be taking the stage for us. Some are going to be doing both. Some have companies that are sponsoring the events as well. But let's talk about a few of these. So Linus Ekenstam, last I checked, Linus's account was hacked on X. I think that was yesterday. Then this morning he got it back, and the poor guy. I read a couple of his posts today. He's been through a little bit of an ordeal. But assuming Linus isn't like completely thrown off the grid, Linus Ekenstam will be there. He was with us last year, one of the original sort of, I would say, content educators and creators that has been talking about AI since the get-go. He's got a great following on X, and really has got a great perspective on what's happening in the AI scene. And I had quite a few people say that his presentation last year was one of the best ones they'd heard, just sort of framing up what's going on. And, it's going to feel like we're going to be like 12 months offset from last year, a little bit more than that. It's going to feel like a decade has gone by, and we're super excited to get Linus back and hear what he's got going. Nathan Lebenz is a guy that, I've been following for quite a while. He was one of the original red teamers of ChatGPT at OpenAI, and he also founded a company called Waymark. He's got a popular podcast called The Cognitive Revolution that's really good. People should check that out. But Nathan's planning to make an appearance and take the stage. One of the things Nathan's really good at talking about is the rise of agents, AI agents, and what comes next, and automation. I've listened to some of his talks before, and really there's not one that I can walk away from that I haven't learned something or a new way of thinking about things. So super excited to have Nathan take the stage for us this year, possibly even convince him to run a workshop or a master class too. And then Bindu Reddy, of course. Bindu was an OG person that I got to meet in the AI scene. Bindu runs a company called Abacus AI, and it's really designed for enterprises, but they sort of have different tiers of access. They have something called Chat LLM, which is something that for $10 a month, anybody can have access to. You can play with all the models. They basically vet every model that comes to market and usually have the newest models up within hours of them coming out. So when DeepSeek came out with its R1 models, Bindu's out there. Bindu has a huge following online too, and comes out with some really great takes on what's happening with the foundation labs and everything else. And every time she takes the stage, people are kind of leaning in to hear what she's going to say. So great to have Abacus back. They're probably going to be talking, Bindu's probably going to be addressing the agents of change, sort of this, how do you unleash AI in your business, your enterprise workflows? How do you automate things? Well, we're super excited. Grok is back. So we're super excited to have, and this is not Elon's Grok. This is the OG Grok, Grok with a Q, guys. Grok is building they call it language processing unit. So this is like a comparable to what NVIDIA does. These are basically servers specialized in inference runtime compute. So basically when you prompt an AI and what you get back, they're building one of the fastest platforms. So they're all about speed, and not just speed in what they can do. They've targeted developers building AI apps and businesses that are looking to scale workloads, but they've also grown a community. They're going to be probably closing in on 1 million people that have signed up for Grok to build. And it's just incredible. In fact, some of our workflows that we're using behind the scenes to help get the word out about imagineAI.live are running on Grok right now too. So super excited.
Mark Heaps was an OG too. He was there at our first event, and a very inspiring guy. And he's their chief evangelicist.
He's probably got the best job in the world. He gets out there and gets to talk about stuff he's passionate about. And that came through last year when he told some stories about, when he realized how valuable AI was, it just at a personal level. He told a story about his son and needing emergency aid on a remote beach. I think it was in Mexico or someplace. And really a story that resonated with a lot of people. But Mark's fantastic. They're bringing folks in. They're going to be setting up kind of an exhibit where people can interact with Grok in our AI arena, which is promises to be super cool. And then this guy right to his right, I've been tracking Dan Soroker now for better part of a year and a half, maybe going on 2 years. Dan is the founder, or co-founder and CEO of a company called Limitless AI. And I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm wearing something called a Limitless pendant. And mine just arrived, so I'm actually going to hook it up later. But one of the coolest things, or the coolest unlocks that I found professionally with AI that I think a lot of people are finding, is that you can suddenly record everything, much like a podcast, but meetings. And there's a lot of companies out there that offer tools to transcribe your meetings now. But Dan and company are going into the wearables market, where you can literally, there's so many times where you're in, I talk to a lot of executives that have manufacturing operations, and they're out on the plant floor and they're talking to an expert, or maybe they're at a conference and they went out for a cup of coffee. They just want to, let's record these ideas right now and let's remember them. And so we're asking Dan to take the stage, and he's agreed to take the stage this year to talk about enterprise memory. How do you capture enterprise memory, curate it, turn it into a competitive weapon? And I'm super excited to welcome Dan, and perfect timing too, because their new pendant is hitting the market, and we may have a little treat in store for people that are coming to the conference as well.
It's great hearing you break these speakers down.
Andy Sack and Adam Brotman are both coming back. These two gentlemen are writing a book about AI and an AI journey. Both of these folks, Andy worked at Microsoft, among many other things. Adam was the former chief digital officer at Starbucks. And they're now basically have created an AI agency or firm that's helping other people find their way, businesses and brands find their way with AI, called Form 3. But they're also writing a book in real time using AI, chapter by chapter, of the journey of a business into AI. They tell us that the book might be ready to go by the time we're there. So there may be a little book signing. In fact, the title of the book, I think you can even pre-order this on Amazon, but it's called AI First, the playbook for future-proof business and brand. So super excited to have these guys come back, update us on the journey. Oh boy, this gets even better. So these three folks here, let's start with Moritz. Moritz Krem was probably one of the first influencers and AI educators that I discovered on X, on Twitter. And early on, when ChatGPT was taking off, Moritz is out of Germany. And he built something called the Prompt Warrior, which had a lot of, some of his prompt techniques, prompt craft, prompt artistry is some of the best you'll find. And he's got a huge community out there of people that follow him around this. But more recently, Moritz has gotten bitten by the vibe coding bug, and which is only natural. And so he's gone into this sort of new realm of AI app building, using AIs, using no code tools, basically building AI apps with agents like Cursor, like Replit. Some of he's probably used all of them now. Bolt is another one, Lovable, Windsurfer. There's quite a few of these out there. And this crop of tools really only cropped it into existence last summer. And they were kind of wobbly at first, but they're amazing now. And so one of the things Moritz is building is this thing called Copy Coder AI, which is a way to essentially, and he'll have to explain it, but it's a tool for people that are into creating their own apps, whether it's for business or personal use, or they want to become a SaaS mega millionaire, whatever the reason is. Moritz is developing sort of a way to approach the prompting and the execution of these in all of these tools called Copy Coder. And I'm actually just beginning to get my hands on it to make use of it for some of the things that we're putting together. So super excited to have Moritz there. Alicia Bate. Alicia is somebody that if there was a whisperer, a leadership whisperer of what the future is going to look like with AI and leadership and teams, I could not think of a better person than Alicia. She came on stage for us in New York, and I think people were like, whoa, it's almost like going to Sedona and having an experience, with what this is going to look like. How do we lead? How do we work? She works with a lot of mega corporations and big brands and helping them craft their leadership strategies. So she's going to come back, take the stage. Then we've got Michael Moe. Michael is head of Global Silicon Valley, GSV, one of the most successful venture guys out there, GSV Ventures. And he spoke for us last year, really gave a great perspective. Also the way the markets think, the way that Silicon Valley and investors think about what's happening with the AI scene and the companies. But Michael's done great, and they've done a fantastic job building another conference that's become quite successful for the ed tech industry, the education market, with Arizona State University that's been running, I think it's at least 10 years now. But these guys are great. So having Michael back, John Rossman, as I mentioned, is going to take the stage with Big Bet Leadership. And there's a new chapter unfolding, which is the Big Bet AI Playbook. And John's going to be running a workshop on that, in addition to giving sort of an updated keynote on how this works. Any enterprise leader who's looking, whether you're a small entrepreneur or a big enterprise, looking to place bets on AI, this method that John's written about and studied is fantastic. And I could go on. Kyle Corbett is a guy who runs a company called OpenPipe. Kyle used to work for Sam Altman, and he is now building, he and his team are building a company that allows you to fine tune your LLMs. As enterprises and businesses are getting more and more into, okay, we like what we're doing, we want to put a workflow together on AI, but the off-the-shelf AI, even with the retrieval augmented generate, the RAG techniques, maybe it's not getting us what we want, or we just don't want to put it out into the public model providers for maybe sensitivity reasons. You can now train your own models and fine tune them. And so this is basically a talk that's probably going to be around kind of owning your enterprise AI destiny. So fine tuning for security, speed, and savings. So it's really a way to go about this, and what they're building is a platform to allow businesses and enterprises to do this fast and to really kind of own their destiny. I get this question all the time, Chris, when I'm talking to leaders about AI, is what happens to my data when I put it out, and we have a lot of counterparty trust, obviously, with Anthropic and OpenAI and the big providers. But this is a way to kind of sort of roll your own, if you will. And so this sort of, where do you fine tune versus where do you in context train a model to do the thing you want via the prompt? Where do you retrieval augment, the model? Those are some of the questions that Kyle's going to address. Really super excited to have these guys there. And of course, Alex Northstar. Alex is probably one of my favorite AI educators, travels the globe, talks to people, really is very practical. Alex is talking about just the foundational skills that you need, how to build automations, workflows to enrich your life, to get your time back and your day back. Alex has been a hit every time we featured Alex, and we just love his style. He's He truly is somebody special, and he's coming back. We don't know what he's going to talk about. It's probably going to have something to do with upskilling your productivity and just becoming better. There's so much going on now with the automations, the agents, and the workflows. Then you got a few guys like us that'll be there. Of course, we'll be mixing it up with everybody. Marco, I'm not even going to try to pronounce Marco's last name. Van Fleeg. Let's go with that. Marco is one of the first guys, another first guy connected with OnX, really into the AI and design scene, the video generation, putting, art and music and video together. Obviously, he works for a large company in his daytime, but he really creates, and he's taught so many people on techniques. Super excited to have Marco back. He's a great friend. Of course, you'll be there. Chris, there's nobody to interview people and tell us what you're going to do.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, last time I am a teacher by training, and I'm used to speaking in front of people. And you kind of threw me on stage at to start day 2 last year. But I loved the opportunity, and I talked about content creation and short form video and kind of my journey to Imagine AI Live. And this year, I'm going to be talking about cloning your voice with AI and the unlock that gives you. And so I cloned my AI voice, and now I'm creating content left and right. You basically can have an idea for a piece of content. AI could write the script for you based off that idea, and then you plug it into your AI voice, and then you put some imagery behind it, and you've got a video. And it's incredible. It's a true unlock, and I'm going to be talking about that.
I love it. And I talk to a lot of creators, and there's stuff that makes your brain hurt. The creative process is fun when you get the final product, but it's all those steps that kind of make your brain hurt in between.
So many steps.
Copying, the pasting, the clipping, and the this and the that. And I think that this is huge, because if anybody should be using AI to create content, I think Imagine AI should be using AI.
Yeah.
As we've said. So I'm super excited to hear what you've learned in the last, literally, like, it feels like every month is a year now. So in the last 10 years since we were together, what have you learned?
Yeah.
And already seeing some of it come out, which is great. Yeah, we've got guys like Dustin Hollywood is coming. Dustin was actually attended last year, but is an independent artist, filmmaker. He has a company called Mammoth Films, and he works in Hollywood on some of the most high-end sort of video, sort of creative projects you can imagine. Super interesting guy. We're going to get him on stage, have him probably lead a workshop as well. And then, right next to him, you got Jared Liu. Jared's a guy that, by day, he's like a little bit of a Clark Kent guy. By day, he's a corporate guy with a large multinational, I think it's Philip Morris International, where he is in this sort of the social media sort of realm of them, based in New York. But by night, and maybe a little bit by twilight, he's a huge AI educator, content creator. In fact, he recently got his dream job inside the company to help them with the sort of enterprise level AI stuff that they're on at Philip Morris. So he'll talk about, what he's going to talk about is more sort of the journey into AI, applying it from a business lens, applying it from a personal creative lens. Super excited to have Jared. He's a great guy. He was with us in New York. First time we're going to get him teaching something with us as well. And there's Adam. He's the other better half of Andy Sack that I mentioned earlier, Adam Brotman. Jessa is AI, I versus AI. She runs a video channel. We brought her out. I discovered her because of her videos, where she was teaching some very deep techniques last year on AI prompt engineering, just some of the tool use, some of the automation stuff. Jessa's essentially where she's come and what she's doing. She's going to be holding court on some of the automation platforms like N8N, Gumloop, others that are out there that are really these new AI native ways to automate your flow, automate your production flow of things in your life and your business. I had a long conversation. If my voice is a little bit rough tonight, Jess and I were on a call for about an hour and a half, showing each other things that we've been working on. Super excited to have her back. The title is Learn to Automate Just About Anything with Jessa. So if you're interested in diving into automation and don't want to just watch a bunch of YouTube videos, you can learn from one of the best out there. She also is an ambassador for N8N. She's an ambassador for Microsoft now. So she's very schooled in some of the tools that enterprises use.
I appreciate her encouraging women to embrace AI and, women in tech scene, but the women in AI scene, and that, it can feel a little intimidating, and there's a bunch of guys around. 50%
Absolutely.
of the world will be benefiting from AI too, women and men. So
Jessa has run circles around some of the folks I know that, call themselves AI people. So super excited to have her back. She's totally like, and she's got a great personality, and her voice, I should mention her voice. She has a, what do you call it? Like a Hollywood voice, a voice of God kind of thing. And she lends her voice to us. So she's the voice that, of course, it's AI generated now, but it's trained on her voice that announces people taking the stage for us. And speaking of taking the stage, we got this interesting guy here named Cody Schneider. If anybody's out there who's been listening to Startup Ideas, if you follow Greg Eisenberg's podcast, Startup Ideas podcast, this was one of my favorites. You've probably heard of Cody Schneider. In fact, he has his own podcast too. Cody is a digital marketing guru. I don't even know how to describe this guy. He's always hopped up on caffeine and beer, but man, he's got energy and he's got knowledge. And Cody's been he's been working with us a little bit, but he's going to share some secrets as something he calls digital gravity that I think is a message everybody should hear if they're in business. And it's how you leverage this idea of digital gravity, which is more accessible than ever now with AI power in getting your brand out, your word out about your product. Doesn't matter if you're B2C or B2B. Cody's got something for everybody. This guy could take the stage probably for like 4 hours and people would still be, not even going for a bathroom break. So super excited to get Cody out. He's trying to get the weekend free because his girlfriend's birthday, but we're going to work that out. But Cody's coming out. This guy next to him, Hendo was a guy who attended last year out of the UK. And he's a creative director, but he's also an AI first creative director for agencies. So he's worked with major brands, Nokia, Google, Deloitte. The guy's been in agencies, for quite a long time, and just is really leaning into AI and is going to talk about how he's working with brands and agencies now on bringing some of the tooling that we're using with AI for image, video generation, music, et cetera, to kind of rewiring things, rewiring creativity is sort of the talk track he's got. Man, I could keep going. Let's see what else we got. We're not even done because we're still recruiting speakers. We've got Cheryl Savage. Cheryl was a former Cisco legal strategist, in-house legal counsel for Cisco systems, and is actually someone who's like, not only from a legal perspective, she works for an AI startup now called Positron AI, but she has a lot of experience. She did a stint at Grok, the Grok with a Q, and is really kind of at the forefront of legal innovation as it comes to AI. She's going to take the stage and talk a little bit and also lead a kind of a masterclass on navigating the AI maze, legal frameworks from, there's so many people that are concerned about legal issues with AI, copyright infringement, trouble that they can get in. I hear it every day, stipulations in contracts that you cannot use AI to process data. There's all kinds of things to navigate. Cheryl's going to talk about a new framework on how to approach this. And so anybody who's got that kind of job or issue, wants to hear from somebody kind of on the cutting edge who lives in this industry, Cheryl's going to be the one. I'm going to have to ask you to pronounce Sungwoo's name.
Sungwoo Sun.
Sungwoo Sun. He is the VP of Applied AI at a company called Wealth.com. These guys are basically building think of it as like the whole financial industry sort of, they're building tools for financial analysis for the way I would describe it, and he'll have to explain this a little more when he takes the stage for us, is kind of your Edward Joneses, your brokerage analysts that, the folks that help you plan your financial life, financial planners, et cetera. And Wealth.com is basically a company that is now, they just received a big round of funding. These guys are kind of going after it at scale to help make financial planning and financial analysis easier. I had a great call with him the other day. He's ex-Microsoft, was in the labs with Microsoft as an applied AI scientist. Super excited to get him on stage and hear what he's got to say. Oh man, Steve Manuel. Every now and then you get DM'd by somebody, and Steve is a guy, I think I'd seen some of his ex posts and he'd seen a few of mine. And he just cold DM'd me on X and said something like, dude, I have something you need to hear about. And I said, okay, you caught my attention. What is it? So a lot of people that are building, so Steve is a, hardcore engineer, leader. He's a co-founder of his company, Delipzo. And they're based out in California now. He's done time with, his resume looks like a who's who of the tech world. But Steve reached out to me, and there's a new thing called MCP, which you might have heard about. There's so many announcements. It's hard for everybody to keep track of all this stuff. But Anthropic, I think it was in the early fall, I forget exactly when they dropped this idea. They're building a framework, an open source sort of concept called Model Context Protocol, which is a way for AI models to have tools. So now you think about an AI model becoming an agent, it's going to need tools. It's going to need to go check your Gmail, need to send an email. It's going to basically need to launch APIs and into other services. And so MCP, this Model Context Protocol, is a way to do this in a serverless fashion. And this is right up Steve's wheelhouse. They've created something called MCP Run, which is a platform that simplifies the deployment and management of AI agents. He gave me a preview of this thing. He showed me a demo this week. And I literally like, oh crap. This is like something between, okay, here's the title of his talk. Build an AI agent faster than you can write an email, because that's how fast he did it in front of me. So this is something that needs to be seen. It's fantastic. And again, it's coming from a company that's sort of hardcore guys steeped in experience in sort of serverless technologies. But what he's going to talk to you about is this, not so much from a dev level, although you can go nerd out on this stuff. He's going to talk to it from a business level. Why, as a business person, does this matter to you? And super excited to get Steve on stage. And by the way, Chris, you'll need to give, as you will for all these folks you haven't talked to yet, cue them up for some interviews on the pod. And I'm almost done.
Lewis here, next person I have talked with.
You have talked to Lewis. I think the pod is, I don't know if the episode's dropped yet, but it's going to drop soon. Louis Rosenberg. And I had I had the good fortune to speak with him this week. Unanimous AI is what he's building. And Lewis's resume, I mean, I had to use AI just to collapse his resume so you can synthesize it. The guy's done everything in his career. He's been in virtual VR before it was even a thing. Stanford, he's done everything. Air Force, NASA, and you could probably tell a better story about Lewis than me. But
yeah, let me try it. He's building artificial swarm intelligence. The maximum group for having a conversation is about 5 to 7 people, like to have a productive conversation and like a discussion and agree upon things, debate. Once you get to 10, 20 people, it just becomes a presentation, and now no real like decision or consensus making is happening. And so what artificial swarm intelligence does is he takes large groups of people that are trying to decide on something, and he puts them into 5 groups of 5 people. Each group has an AI agent, an AI that's listening to the conversation, updating all the other groups in real time of the consensus and the like pros and cons for a debate, and then prompting people to like think about those things. So like a large group can make the best decision and the best answer to a problem. And so he's using this with, large bodies of scientists. He predicted the Super Bowl this last year.
Yeah,
everyone was saying that the Chiefs were going to win, and from using this artificial swarm intelligence, like, no, actually the Philadelphia Eagles have a good chance of winning, a better chance of winning here.
It really is. What resonated with me when he told the story is that human intelligence is still vitally important, even with the almost ubiquitous sort of landscape of a PhD level AI models that are beck and call. And the way that humans think is still something. You get intelligence from the hive mind, if you will. And we're going to actually do some cool things to help with imagineAI.live. We're going to probably playground his technology a little bit at our conference, which is really super exciting. We talked about that yesterday. He's going to be talking, the best way I can describe it is humanity amplified. So AI is your partner, not your master. So a lot of people have this fear, and I hear it a lot. AI is going to take all our jobs. It's going to what if it just amplified the performance of humans, and how would that look? And his model and Unanimous, what they're building, and some large companies and organizations are already taking advantage of this. Super exciting. In fact, the next person here, this is the last one for today, Aaron Lanuti, who I just spoke to today, is the Chief Innovation Officer of Omnicom. These guys are one of the largest global advertising. It's they do everything from public relations, which is Aaron's field, to advertise. They have so many different brands. You probably bump into them a lot. But she wants to bring a perspective on what's happening with brands and so safeguarding brand reputation in the age of AI, brand authenticity, and really cool. In fact, she lit up when I was talking to her about who else is on the roster, because she saw Lewis. She goes, "Oh my gosh, the Swarm AI guy." So it's really kind of interesting how this, the AI sort of minded people are finding each other. We're super excited to get Aaron on the stage to talk about that, because it was last year, one of the greatest talks was Antonis Kakilis. And Antonis, if you're listening, you're invited back too. But Aaron's going to get up and sort of represent big brands and what's happening there and how they're thinking about things. And Omnicom has some new stuff they're going to be introducing to clients in the market, I think, which is really cool.
Steve, that was incredibly insightful and valuable for our listeners to know. My follow-up question here is, what message do you have for people considering speaking or wanting to speak at Imagine AI Live?
Yeah, so we're actually, the speaking roster is filling up pretty quick. So we're still actively interviewing folks. We've got some folks on deck that we're going to be talking to. But the one thing that we're doing this year, in addition to our main stage, which, as we know, is 2 days, so that's going to be the 2 days of main stage, is going to be Thursday and Friday. We're also going to be we've added this day for workshopping, master classes, workshops, and that's on arrival day. So while the main stage room is being set up, we're going to have about, I think, 6 or 7 different rooms in the Fontainebleau Hotel where people can kind of more casually arrive early. We're going to be starting them off at 10 a.m., 1 to 2 hour workshops. So if you want to, get hands-on with prompt crafting, prompt engineering, some automation, kind of whet your appetite, we're going to be doing some things with these workshops on arrival day and throughout the conference. So in the afternoons, the plan is to dip into some workshops each afternoon, not to take away from the main stage talks, but to kind of expand and give people more choices of where they might want to spend some time. And of course, the AI arena, which is where we're going to have all of our exhibitors. And it's really our networking room. It's the heartbeat of the event, where we've got the food, we've got the beverages throughout the day, we've got snacks, and we'll have about 30 companies exhibiting there, talking about what they're doing. I should mention some of them already. Neural Frames will be there, Ignite Tech will be there, Grok will be there. We've got multiple conversations with other companies that plan to be there. So we have a lot of folks coming in that way through sponsorships that are going to be helping us deliver their message, sponsorships, workshops, and master classes. So we'll be able to handle more voices this year than we ever have. And that was something we learned in New York, is that we can bring on, more content. The nice thing we're doing too is everything's going to be recorded. So one of the tips about attending an AI conference is getting access to everything, because you can't possibly stay up with every conversation. And a lot of it's the in-person interactions, just spending time with people, going maybe out to dinner later with somebody you met. That kind of thing is where a lot of this magic happens.
Can you speak to the vibe of the conference largely, but also the Fontainebleau? The location of this event is a stunning hotel.
The Fontainebleau, so in-person events, I think, are still one of the greatest sort of things that humans are good at. You can give us AI, we can attend webinar after webinar. We can, get all of our learnings from YouTube and tutorials, whatever it is. But there's something magical about when humans come together. In fact, I think Lewis and what he's doing with the Swarm AI intelligence is kind of like this hive mind of people and ideas. And the energy a lot of people get when they go to in-person events is amazing. The way you can unplug from whatever your day thing is and come into this thing and really kind of, come back energized, inspired, tooled up with new knowledge, new connections. And the Fontainebleau Hotel is honestly one of the best venues in the world to do this. I mean, I've been to many posh places and for conferences and events. One of the reasons we picked the Fontainebleau, and one of the reasons we're coming back, is it is very easy. Well, first of all, it's easy on the eyes. It's very high tech and modern. but kind of like in an AI way, a little rough around the edges. There's a few things, and last year they had just opened up. This year, every restaurant's open, every cafe, there's lots of places to lose yourself. And one of the things we love about Imagine AI Live is that, you're in Las Vegas, there's plenty of great things to do, and we encourage people to come early and stay late. But when you're at the event, you almost don't even need to leave the Fountainebleau because all your people are there. All your AI people are there for you. And you kind of miss out if you don't hang out with them. And it's just fantastic. So they pump oxygen in the place, like all these great places. So you'll feel energized day and night.
Do you have specific speakers in mind, kind of like a bigger names that you would love to invite now to our conference to speak at our conference?
Oh my gosh, I've got a list a mile long. Obviously we welcome really interest from any speaker, especially those that are on the forefront, or what I call the frontier, of whether it's an enterprise that is at the frontier of doing something incredibly cool and wants to get on stage and tell their use case. Like, what have they unlocked? What are they willing to share with others? What pitfalls do they run into? It doesn't matter the domain, because one of the great things about Imagine AI Live, it's cross domain. So we can cross pollinate, learn from each other. And, it's just all these topics that are so relevant, to dive into, or the companies that are building the next great, platforms. We've got a handful of these guys coming as well. They're taking the stage for us, but, companies that are on the forefront of the language models, from the labs. I know the guys in the labs, the people in the labs are busy. We get it, but we welcome any of them to take a stage and tell us your favorite prompt technique. It's just an incredible time for builders, for people that are supplying the feedstock, the raw materials to go into these products, but then also the people that are building the next great applications on top of AI, the AI native companies, as well as the traditional companies that are offering incredible services. So that's it's more of a broadcast out. I've got certain people in mind that we'd love to get some of these AI researchers and out. They're all rock stars, that they're all booked months out on events, but we welcome them to take the stage. What I promise every speaker and every sponsor is you will have a lot of fun at this event. It's one of the things we pride ourselves on. This is a high energy event. I like to say, if Tony Robbins had a baby with a business conference on AI, it would be Imagine AI Live. It would feel something like this: very high energy, a lot of inspiration. Yeah, and registration's going great. We're going to probably be in a sold out situation like we were the last two shows.
I'd like to say a little bit about the pop-up podcast, and we're doing that again, and it's a great opportunity. We basically have a Professional Podcast booth stand in the middle of the foyer, this huge foyer outside of the conference, and welcome open registration for attendees to book a time to have a 10 to 15 minute conversation, a podcast, a flash pod. It's a great opportunity for people to get there. Everyone's kind of goes to a conference. They want to learn a bunch, and they want to make connections and help their business, help their lives. And it's a way to get their message out there. And one of the messages that I preach is, in today's world, the best microphone you have is turning on the mic and broadcasting yourself, selling yourself, and getting people used to talking on camera is a valuable skill.
Yeah, Sharonique and Nathan, and we'll have the podcast. It was very popular last year. I think we recorded 30 some mini episodes.
35 in 2 days. Yeah.
Episodes. And Nathan and Sharonique do a great job. They'll be back. It's a great feature that was sort of on a whim last year, but it really, really worked well.
Then I have a message for all of these AI clip companies out there, these companies that are, can take your podcast and make cool clips with captions. There's a few big dogs out there, and then there's a lot of startups as well. If one of your companies wants to sponsor the pop-up podcast and basically take on the challenge of all of this content, we're going to have 35 plus short interviews. And what can you do with that? And how quickly can you turn that content around into content that we can push out the door and making the best clips from it? What are of that 15 minutes? What are the 3 to 4 best highlight moments of that to get in clip form with captions? There's a lot of these tools out there. People are interested about that. It saves a lot of time. And I'd like to have a company sponsor, have a premier unique sponsorship for the Imagine AI Live pop-up podcast for this event. So I am going to be sending out information on that to you all soon. But you're welcome to get in touch with me as well.
100%. Yeah, we welcome sponsors. This event, is really kind of an organic event, from the ground up. Some people have described it as sort of a festival, or the Eric Vaughn from Ignite called it the Woodstock of AI. We're having fun with this. We're not,
Yeah.
we're not so worried about, the dystopian future. We're thinking more of kind of the cool future, eliminating the cognitive load, the stuff that makes people's brain hurt, the stuff that you can have fun and automate today, and serving up companies and ideas and products that from around the world, from around, it's incredible of how you lean into AI and take advantage of a better future today.
Well said. So maybe a last question here. What's your advice for people attending an AI conference?
That's a great question. Well, we obviously have an opinion on, how a conference should be, but, different people are looking for different, aspects of conferences, and AI, they're tech conferences, but they're slightly different now because there's the way I view what's happening with AI. So it used to be with a tech conference, the technical people would go to the tech event, the developers and, the engineers, et cetera. And the business people would go to business events. They'd go to like the sales and marketing events. The data science people would go to data science events. And so our world was kind of divided based on domain expertise. And one of the most beautiful things about generative AI in general, what's happening so quickly in the world at this exponential rate, is that these walls or these boundaries are blurring. So as a business executive, I used to think, well, I'll send my technical people to a technical conference, my marketing people to that marketing conference. Well, now it's all converging. Like, everybody can learn every domain. App building is becoming accessible to business leaders with no code experience, as an example. Deep research and data science is becoming available to the CEO on demand. There's tools and techniques to support this. Developers, technical people, all of a sudden have reach to do beautiful things in sort of customer facing realms, outreach to customers, marketing, et cetera. That used to be kind of, well, you guys sit here, you over here. So it's all coming together. And so one of the things, and this is sort of speaks to why we created the platform we did with imagineAI.live, is let's bring it all together. Let's take a sort of, a bird's eye or leadership or CEO view of the whole thing. So no matter what conference you choose to go to, there's a lot of good ones out there. Think of it through that lens. What can you learn that's outside of your domain, that's outside of your wheelhouse, that's outside of, your swim lane, so to speak. And the other thing I do is industry events. There's so many industries that silo themselves off from other industries. Cross-pollination of use cases is a great thing. So what are other industries learning? So there are some great events out there that cater to, health technology and AI, where you could literally go down if that's your space and learn a lot. But, you might be able to cross-pollinate what's happening in sort of the broad strokes of AI as well in other industries, and that's what we found at imagineAI.live, people sharing stories and use cases and techniques and strategies, that are from, financial services, healthcare, to manufacturing, to tech, to, education, nonprofit. Like, it just goes on and on, and just the learning from each other. The thing that, my message would be, find your AI people and, discover where you feel like you can plug in, learn the most, and contribute back to. And that's really, I think, when attending any conference, that should be the great mindset going in, and certainly something we're trying to cultivate with imagineAI.live.
Well, Steve, it's been an amazing time talking with you. You've got so many ideas and you're working on so many things. And I know we could talk a lot longer, but I wonder if you have a message you'd like to say to the audience and our listeners.
Yeah, I think if you're listening to this podcast, first of all, I want to thank everybody who's given us a try, given us a listen. It's been a lot of fun sort of building it, even to get to this level about a year in now. And what we've done with imagineAI.live, we have shout out to all the imagineAI livers out there that are listening, that are coming to the event, that have been to an event. You'll see a lot of return people, which is great. Super excited. This is my scene. These are our people. And these are humans, I think, that want to be on the sort of cutting edge or leading edge, at least not be left behind by what's happening. And I think that so often people get overwhelmed by what's happening with the AI scene. But it's every day another announcement. I think GPT 4.5 dropped today. And of course, people on Twitter X are
while I was sleeping.
While you're sleeping, it's out in the wild now.
God dang.
Of course, now you need a $200 a month pro account to use it. But it's just coming in waves. And the announcements with Elon's Grok 3 last week, and I've tried these models, and we run our prompts through. As soon as there's a better model out, we'll try them out, and it's like, whoa, that is incredible. It's enough that can make you anxious. It can enough, especially if, we get to play with AI all day long, and we get to talk to people doing AI all day long. A lot of people are running their companies or running their businesses, and they have their day jobs to do. And I talk to a lot of these folks every day or every week, and it's hard for them to step out and figure out, okay, where do I plug in? Where do we go to feel like we're at least not falling behind? And if anything, giving ourselves an advantage, but doing it in a way that it's not overwhelming, that doesn't feel like you're gonna miss out on something big. But it is the biggest thing that's happening to, automation and cognitive automation, so probably since the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, it's
So
clear.
what I would say is, don't worry, we're here for you. imagineAI.live is serving it up, and we will help people find their way. That's our mission. Find your way with AI, meet other people that are doing the same.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, for hopping on our podcast. And I hope to see everybody at our event, May 28th to 30th in Las Vegas. You can go online to get your tickets. Like Steve said, we are selling these tickets.
We will keep selling them until they sell out. So we invite everybody, all are invited. And if you, we welcome everybody. It's a fantastic event. And we can't wait to put on this next one, May 28th.
All right. Well, bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.